Hi there, Year 7. Okay, today's lesson is going to be on the division of a decimal by a whole number, looking at multiplying and dividing by tens, hundreds, and thousands, and then division of a decimal by a decimal. So there's going to be 3 parts to today's lesson. Let's bring up the PowerPoint to get started. Okay, so as always, you will have the link to this video in there when I upload these PowerPoint slides onto your Google Classroom page. Those are the 3 areas we're going to be looking at today. As always, you're going to complete your work in your classwork book. If your classwork book is full, please feel free to use your homework book or separate paper. Make sure that when I go through the instructional video, you're copying down everything, including my learning bubbles, everything, so that you've got a really clear set of notes. You're going to be handing in your work either at 11:15 or at 2:30, depending on whether it's a morning or afternoon lesson. And as always, make sure you have your green pen for marking and corrections. Let's get started. Okay, you've got 10 minutes to have a look at this algebra flashback. Off you go. Okay, your time's up. Here are your answers to questions 1, 2, and 3. Pause the video if you need more time. Mark and correct your work as necessary. There's the answers to questions 4 to 7. Again, pause the video if you need more time to mark your work. We're now going to, just to summarize the 3 different parts of the lesson that we're going to take a look at today. So division of a decimal by a whole number. So for example, 3.2 divided by 2. Division of a decimal by 10, 100 and 1000. And then finally, division of a decimal by a decimal. And we're going to look at a technique, how to make sure we always get the right answer with that example. Okay, so let's have a look at our video. We're going to watch it in 3 parts. Hi there. Today we're going to be looking at the division of decimals. We're going to be looking at this lesson in 3 parts. And part 1 is dividing a decimal by a whole number. Let's just quickly start with a whole number by a whole number division, 384 divided by 3. Nice and straightforward. If we're using our short division, 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 8 twice, remainder 2, 3 goes into 24 8 times. So we have our answer of 128 using short division. Now, let's do it again, but this time the number is a decimal. What are we going to do this time? Well, it's almost exactly the same. There's just one thing we need to remember. So we're still going to use, whoops, let's start again. We're still going to use short division. We have a decimal point here now. So 3 goes into 3 once. We need to put the decimal point exactly above its position here. 3 goes into 8 twice, remainder 2. 3 goes into 24 8 times. So our method is almost exactly the same. We just need to remember to put the decimal point in completely in line. Let's write that down. So we're going to line up the decimal point in the quotient with the decimal point of the dividend. Maybe we need a quick little reminder about those terms as well, quotient and dividend. So let's just put another little learning bubble in here. Okay, the number that we start with, that is our dividend. The number that we are dividing it by is our divisor, and our answer is our quotient. All right, so that's just a little reminder of the terminology that we use in division. Right, let's carry on. Let's move that up a little bit. So, question 3. Very similar, but let's just have a look. We've got a load of decimal points. We just need to be a little bit careful here. So we're still going to proceed in exactly the same way. But the key thing is to make sure we match. So we just need to copy up till we get to this point, and then we can start 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 8, twice remainder 2, etc. So just make sure you're copying in the same way that we copy up the decimal point. We want to copy up all our zeros, our placeholders, to make sure that we still get that decimal point in the correct place. Another example. Now this time, I've got a larger number that I'm dividing by. So this time, instead of using short division, I'm going to use long division. I'm going to see how many times 13 goes into 35. I might start writing them out to help me, because I don't know my 13 times table off the top of my head. So just here on the right-hand side, I'm going to start listing out some of the 13 times table. I can now see that 13 goes into 35 twice. That's 26. And then I can work out the difference. So that I'm going to have the difference between 35 and 26 is 9. I'm now going to drop down my 1. 13 goes into 91. Well, I need to keep going, don't I, with my 13 times table. Got 65, then 78, then 91. I can see that 7 lots of 13 give me 91. So my answer is 27. So that's just a quick reminder of long division. And it works exactly the same if you have a decimal here. Let's see. So now I've got 3.51. I'm still dividing by 13. I'm going to do exactly the same as I did before. But I've got 3.51 this time. 13 doesn't go into 3, so I'm going to write 0. And I'm going to drop the 3 down. I'm going to bring down my 5. 13, remember, note here that I've not dropped down my decimal point. 13 goes into 35 twice. Sorry. Not paying attention. 13 times 2 is 26. I'm going to drop down now. I've got 9 left over, and I'm going to drop down my 1. 13 goes into 91 7 times. So my answer in this case is 0.27. Sorry, you didn't see all that. Okay. Now, just a quick reminder here. It doesn't apply to some of the questions we've done so far. But we want to simplify first. If we can simplify, let's do it. It's going to make life a little bit easier for us with some of these larger numbers. So, for example, question 6, so I'll put that there. 336 divided by 48. Okay? I'm going to write this as a fraction. 336 divided by 48. I'm going to write it as a fraction. So I'm going to have 336 divided by 48. It's exactly the same calculation. I'm just expressing it in a different way. I want to simplify it because I don't know my 48 times tables. Now, I might be able to see that both of those numbers are divisible by 4 or 6 or even 12. But if I can't be sure, I can definitely see that they are both even numbers, and therefore I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2. Again, they're still both even numbers. I can do exactly the same again, dividing the numerator and the denominator by 2, and so on until I've no longer got an even number, but I can see now that both numbers are divisible by 3. You probably could have seen that back here or back here. But as I say, there's nothing wrong with just breaking it down and dividing by 2. Now we're going to come back to this fraction method later. Let's do one more question. See if I can squash it on the bottom here. Can you see? All right, so 23.1 divided by 5. Okay, it's just very slightly different. So I just want to make sure that you're clear on what to do here. We've got 23.1. 5 goes into 23 4 times remainder 3. It goes into 31, remembering to put that decimal point there, 6 times, but I've still got a remainder 1. So this is where I want to add in a 0 as a placeholder, which allows me now to put my 1 in here, and 5 goes into 10 2 times. So whether you do it using short division or long division, it doesn't matter. The key thing is to add a placeholder here so that you can get your answer to 2 decimal places, in this case, 4.62 being our answer. Okay, right, let's move on to part 2. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Okay, so you've now got 6 minutes to work through these 4 questions. Off you go. Okay, those are your answers. Hopefully you can read those okay. We've got 0.00425 for the first one, 0.0473 for question 2. Question 3 is 4.62 centimeters. Question 4, 0.775 kilograms or 775 grams. Right, some challenging questions here. I'm going to suggest you do them in this order. Question 5, 6, and 10. If you have time, then look at questions 7 and 8 as well. So 5, 6, 10 first, 7 and 8 if you have time. Good luck. Okay, your time's up. Let's have a look at questions 5, 6, and 10 first. Okay, so we have for question 5, 4.68 divided by 9 gives us 0.52 kilograms or 520 grams. A loan is paid over 12 equal monthly installments. So we divide by 12 and we get £264.20. There should be a decimal point there, but I think you know now that a lot of my points aren't coming out. Right, question 10. A bottle containing, this is a tough question, by the way, properly tough question. Bottle containing 90 tablets weighs 89.4 grams. We take away 25 tablets, and now the bottle remains weighs 67.9 grams. We want to find the mass of each tablet and the mass of the bottle. Okay, so we're going to find the difference between those two weights. That gives us 21.5. And then we need to divide it by 25 tablets to get the weight or the mass of one tablet. Okay, so 21.5 divided by 25 gives us an answer here of 0.86 grams. And then finally, the mass of the bottle is 12 grams. Okay, quite a tough question there, but I hope you gave it your best shot. Okay, I've just put up, if you did get a chance to look at question 7 and question 8, the answer to question 7 is 0.6 hours. Obviously, you could convert that into minutes if you wish. And the length is 72.15 centimeters with a width of 40.5 centimeters. I hope you enjoyed those. I know they are quite challenging, but give them your best shot. Okay, so we're now going to take a look at quiz number 49. Remember, as I've said to you before, you do not need to watch the video. You don't need to make notes from the video. You just need to complete the quiz. And if you want to do the quiz in your classwork book, that's absolutely fine. Remember, we're aiming for 100%. So please attempt it 3 times if you don't get 100% first time round. And I only want you to do quiz number 49 at this point. Please do not start quiz number 50. So you're going to pause the video. You're going to work on that quiz and then start playing again once the quiz is finished. We'll be going on a break of 20 minutes. So pause for your break as well. And then we'll restart when we come back. Okay, so pause now because I'm going to keep going. Right, we're moving on to part 2 of the lesson now. So we're going to watch the second part of our instructional video. You're going to write down everything in the video into your books so it's set out really neatly. Okay. Okay, so now we're just going to look at division by 10, 100 and 1000. And to start us off, just quickly, we're going to do a recap of multiplying by 10, 100 and 1000. Okay, so if we're multiplying, to multiply by 10, we move the place value once to the right. Sorry, getting mixed up now, because I'm in division mode. Once to the left. If I'm multiplying by 100, I'm going to move my place value. These little ditto signs mean just copy down what's on the line above twice to the left. Okay? And at school, and I wouldn't be crazy enough to sing it. But at school, we call this particular one the Beyonce Method. Because, and I'm not going to sing it, but I'm singing it in my head. Because we move the place value to the left, Okay, I'm going to leave it there. So now let's look at division. So if we're dividing by 10, we want to move the place value once to the right. Similarly, if we're dividing by 100, we're moving our place value twice to the right. And so on. Obviously, if it was dividing by 1,000, it would be 3 times to the right. So I said we were going to do a little bit of recap of multiplying as well. So let's start off with that. First few questions, 26.6 multiplied by 10, moving the place value to the left once. To the left is going to give us 266. Question 2, 4.327. This time I'm multiplying by 100 and moving my place value twice to the left using my Beyonce method, 432.7. And question 3, 0.0082 multiplied by 1,000. Again, moving to the left, but this time 3 places is going to give me 8.2. Let's do the same again, but with division. I'm going to use the same numbers, 26.6. This time I'm dividing by 10. That's going to give me 2.66. Question 5, 4.327. This time I'm dividing by 100. Okay, sometimes it can be helpful if you just add a 0 in there. That might help you with moving your place value. This time you're going to get 0.04327 because we've moved 2 place values to the right. Okay. Finally, I've got 0.0082 divided by 1,000 this time. Again, you might find it helpful to pop in a couple of zeros here. This time you're moving to the right 3 places. So you're going to end up with loads of zeros. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I need to double check and count those to make sure I've got it right. So I've started with 0.0082. I've moved 3 to the right. So I started here and moved 3 to the right. And I end up with 0.000082. So there are 5 zeros after the decimal point. Okay. Let's look at how we use that for some conversions. And it's probably worth just recapping those conversions here. So all those calculations that we do are to help us with conversions. So just a reminder, we're not going to do all of them, but we'll do some of the main ones. For length, 1 kilometre equals 1,000 metres. 1 metre equals 100 centimetres, and 1 centimetre equals 10 millimetres. And if you get caught on a conversion question, don't forget you've always got a ruler in front of you, and that can help you see that, for example, here, 1 centimetre is 10 millimetres. Let's look at mass. 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. Capacity. 1 litre equals 1000 millilitres. And you will also sometimes see on your water bottle, you might see it written as centilitres. Time, we've got to be careful on time, really careful with our conversions when it comes to time, because it's not 10 or 100 or 1000. 1 hour is 60 minutes and 1 minute, 60 seconds. I know I'm stating the obvious there, but all the time I see mistakes where people have forgotten and they've divided by 100 instead of 60, for example. And finally, money, obviously £1 is 100 pence. All right, so just a couple of quick questions there. So if I had 300 grams and I wanted to write it in kilograms, I would take my 300, I would divide by 1000, and that would give me 0.3 kilograms. And if I had 4.1 litres and I wanted to write it in millilitres, then this time I'm going to take my 4.1 and I'm going to be multiplying it by 1000 to give me 4100 millilitres. All right, just one more. If I have 7.8 meters and I want to write it in centimeters, I've got my 7.8, but this time I'm not multiplying by 1000, it's 100. Remember, centi for centimeters, cent means 100. So 7.8 multiplied by 100 gives you 780 centimeters. Okay, finally, part 3. Okay, we'll be coming back to part 3 after we have completed our questions for part 2. So let's have a look and see where we're at. Okay, so some quick questions here, just 3 minutes for these. It probably won't even take you that long. Off you go. Okay, time's up. Nice and simple. Let's see how we got on with those. So we have, well, I'll let you mark them, give you a moment to mark them. Okay, all pretty straightforward. Pause if you need more time and let's move on. 3 more minutes. Now, I want you to try and do these mentally. So I don't want you to do any working. I've given you a couple of clues here. So that multiplying by 20 is the same as multiplying by 2 and then multiplying by 10. See if you can have a go at doing all of these in your head without writing any working down. Off you go. Let's see how you got on. Okay, so we have 24.6, 1,300, 203, 0.118, 0.047, and 0.068. Okay, so you can see how I've broken it down. 2 times 10, 2 multiplied by 1,000. I gave you a clue on that one. Dividing by 100 and then dividing by 2, dividing by 2 and then dividing by 10. And finally dividing by 100 and then multiplying by 2. Okay, hope you enjoyed those. Right, so we've talked about this in the instructional video. And here's just a recap really. So you don't need to write down anything here unless there's anything you missed earlier. Okay, so we've got our length, mass, also included here, 110 is 1000 grams, capacity and money. Right, I didn't know that was going to take quite so long to come up. Apologies for that. This is a really useful, if you want to copy this down, you can. Have I got it all now? Yeah, I knew I'd do that and go too far. Okay, so this is a really handy way, because the most common mistake people make is going from kilometers to meters. They will divide by 1000 instead of multiplying. So this is a nice little trick to see that when you're going from kilometers to meters to centimeters to millimeters, so as the size of these units gets smaller, we need to multiply. If we're going back the other way, we know, but again, by looking at our ruler, that 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. So if we've got 10 millimeters, we need to divide by 10 to get back to centimeters, and so on. So I'd suggest you pause and copy this down. This is a really good reference to have in your books, or maybe when we're finally back in the classroom, I can photocopy some of these for you to stick in your books as well. But if you've got time, please copy it down. Okay, some more questions and 6 minutes. Time's up. Okay, so let's have a look at these. So we have 4,550 millimeters, 4.55 meters, 15 minutes, a quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. 30 bags of carrots are £22.50. The height of the building in kilometers is 0.138 kilometers, and in centimeters, 13,800 centimeters. The time taken to get to school is 0.35 hours. We're expressing that in minutes, and the answer is 21 minutes. It's a bit messy, but hopefully you can see here. 0.35 multiplied by 60 gives us 21 minutes, or we can break it down. There's a couple of different breakdowns shown here. Finally, the price for 1 kilogram or 1,000 grams of steak is £15. Again, there should be a decimal point there. So the price for 1 gram, I need to divide both sides by 1,000. So I've got 1 gram on this side, £15, divided by 1,000 gives me 0.015 pounds. If I multiply that by 100, that's going to give me pence, 1.5 pence. Okay, so please take your second break, and when we come back, you're going to be doing the third part of this lesson. So pause, take a break, and then restart when you come back. Right, so we're now going to watch the third part of that video, the final bit, which is division of a decimal by a decimal. So let's bring that up for you. This is division of a decimal by a decimal. Division of a decimal by a decimal. Right, so here's my question. 3.2 divided by 0.2. Let's just pause and look at that for a moment, because this is the type of question that can look a little bit scary. But if we remember what we talked about back in part 1, when we converted it, we wrote this, or a similar question we wrote as a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it as 3.2 divided by 0.2, okay? So let's put that in a learning bubble. Write the calculation as a fraction. And now what we need to do is we need to work to change this denominator so that it is no longer a decimal. We want this to be a whole number. So let's look at how we can remove the decimals. So I've got 3.2 divided by 0.2. If I use my equivalent fractions and I multiply my numerator and my denominator by 10, I'm going to get 32 over 2. So suddenly, a calculation that seems quite difficult and certainly not intuitive, we turn it into something very simple. 32 divided by 2, or half of 32, being 16. Okay, so let's make a learning bubble there as well. So once we've written the calculation as a fraction, we need to make the divisor, the denominator, because we've written it as a fraction, a whole number. So we're making the divisor, the denominator, a whole number. Right, one last question then. So this time I've got 23.8 and I'm dividing by 1.4. I'm going to write it as a fraction, 23.8 over 1.4. I'm going to do the same as up here. I'm going to multiply my numerator and my denominator by 10 to get rid of my decimals. So I've got 238 divided by 14. Okay, let's write that over here. 238 divided by 14. Now I could just use either short or long division to solve this, but I'm not great on my 14 times table. But luckily I've noticed that the numerator and the denominator are both even. So I can simplify it. I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2. That's going to give me 119 over 7. And now it's a much easier calculation for me to do, because I do know my 7 times table. 7 goes into 11 once, remains a 4. 7 goes into 49 7 times. So I get an answer of 17. Okay, so let's just put our last learning bubble here. Once the divisor is a whole number, see if you can simplify the fraction. Okay, you don't have to do that, but it just makes it easier. Just one comment finally, is that it's okay if you still have your numerator as a decimal. It's the denominator that needs to be a whole number. So if your numerator is still a decimal, that's absolutely fine. You just go back and do exactly the same method as we were doing in part 1. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Hi there. Today we're going to be looking at...
Certainly don't want to be listening to that again. Okay, let's go back to our PowerPoint. Remember, all of this, you can pause, you can rewind at any time if there's more notes that you need to take down. Right, 3 minutes for these super quick questions, but not only are you going to work them out, what do you notice, and more importantly, why?
Well, the maths was certainly very straightforward, but what did you notice? All the answers are the same. And the reason why all the answers are the same is because they are all equivalent fractions. Right. 4 minutes to do these 3 questions. Let's have a look at the answers. Okay, so using our equivalent fractions, we get 300 over 6, which gives us 50, 3,200 over 8, which gives us 400, and 120 over 2, which gives us 60. I hope you're following on okay with these. Remember, you can still put comments into the live chat, or you can send me a message on Google Classroom if you've got any questions. Right, multiple choice time. So there's just 3 questions here. You've got a choice of 4 answers for each one. Have a go. 4 minutes. Okay, time's up. How did you get on? So the answer to question 1 is D, 39.7. Question 2 is A, 1.125. Remember the unit is meters. Question 3 is C, 1.24. All right, another 3 questions, another 6 minutes. Remember your negative number rules for these ones, please. Time's up. Did you remember your negative numbers rules? A negative divided by a negative gives us a positive, and a positive divided by a negative gives us a negative. Okay, so we have, did I write? Let me just check. And no, I thought I'd written these up somewhere. Okay, so the first one is 26.7. The second one is 92.8. That is positive. And the third one is negative 30.4. All right. Here are some challenge questions for you, but I reckon you can give it a good go. Don't forget your order of operations for the second and third question. Good luck. How did you do? Right, so first question, 2,255.8. Second question, remember we do the division before the addition. So we have 1.2 plus 0.04 giving us 1.24. And then finally, we need to do this multiplication and this division before we do the subtraction. So we end up with 8.84, then we're subtracting 100 and, now look, I've made a mistake. I wonder if I can just quickly edit this. It's correct. It's correct. Oh dear, what have I done now? Right, there you go. So it's correct here, but I've forgot the negative sign there. So be really careful because I'd have lost myself a mark there. Negative 106.16. Okay, we are nearly there. I'm sure you've worked absolutely brilliant. It's a long session, but there's lots of really, really valuable maths in here. So you have quiz number 50 to do. That's dividing a decimal by a decimal. You've got 8 minutes to do that. You can either do it now at the end of the lesson, or you can do it as part of your homework. That's up to you, depending on how much time you've got, or if you just need a break. Okay. Again, remember, I'm looking for 100%. So if you don't get 100% the first couple of times, please do continue to try it. And as always, just remember to take photos of your work and upload them onto Google Classroom at 11:15 for the morning sessions, 2:30 for the afternoon sessions. That's all. Hope you have a fantastic day. And thanks again for your hard work. Well done. See you later.